Welcome to the Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva, and today we're going to get some insight in entrepreneurship and what kids should do from high school to college. My guest today is Alberto Molina. He's the president of SureTech, and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
it's great to be here.
So usually I start my guests where they went to college. So where'd you go to school?
I went to Yale University in New Haven, Connecticut, which was a big move for me from California, where I was prior.
Good. So let's go back into high school. When did you start thinking about college? Was it freshman year, senior year? How did all your thoughts of going to Yale all start out?
It was all a big mistake. It started in 8th grade. I started doing theater in 8th grade, and I eventually became a professional actor in high school. And I went to Performing Arts High School, and I heard, Yale has this great drama department. And so I decided in 8th grade, I'd like to go there. And I really didn't know anything about it. And then I discovered that you can't actually participate in the drama school as an undergraduate, but by then I thought going to a good school would be a good idea.
Great, fantastic. So you graduate from high school, you go to Yale, go across the country. When you get there, what's your thoughts?
I was in heaven. It was just amazing. It was all of the, all these resources and all the best people there's a great chemist, there's a great violinist, there's a great juggler, there's a great singer, and you're in this group of people, and it's the time of your life when everybody has all these passions and ideals and dreams and everything, and then there's so many resources, there to explore, anything that interests you, as far as you can possibly go.
Great. Now, so you're graduating from Yale University. What's your thoughts about becoming an entrepreneur? Is this something that you had as soon as you got there, or was it just theater and you were going to become an actor and stay in acting for the rest of your life?
Well, I didn't really know, but it was 1993, and I went back to California, but I had all of these contacts and friends that were graduating, and a lot went to New York. And so New York seemed very appealing. And at that time, it just seemed like anything was possible. There was peace in the world, and there was this idea that that you could talk things out, in politics. And it was the beginning of just this, through 2001, I would say that it was almost this magical time where almost anything was possible. And so I got to New York, and it was very easy to find part-time work. And to explore things. So I started a theater company. I'd started a theater company at Yale, and 5 or 6 of us came to New York and said, oh, let's do theater and see what that's like. And so we ran that for 5 years, and in the meantime I did part-time work and learned about technology. And so I found that was the best way to apply some of my sort of science skills while I was doing this art.
Interesting. And did you do any plays or anything while you did this theater?
Yeah, so we did a couple shows on the Lower East Side in New York when that was brand new and all no one was there, and it was there was an old public school. We went through construction drapes to put on this show, and we got people to go there, and now it's like this booming theater with 5 different theaters in it, and lots and lots of theater companies that use it down there. So it was fun to be just exploring and finding the way to do what we wanted to do and to have our passion, and then noticing after 5 years that the cash was kind of going the wrong direction, and seeing people that did it for 30 years and saying, oh, maybe starving to do this for 30 years just wasn't what I wanted to do, yeah. But I loved being able to do it. And so that's, a lot of that learning and opportunity happened for those years.
So what happened to migrate you back into technology? What was going on with your thoughts there?
Well, in the early 90s, computers in companies were still somewhat new. So I don't remember when the first leverage buyout happened using Excel, but it was around there, and one of the big, I think it was KKR, they used Excel to do calculations for a buyout. So in big companies, computers were still, they were established everywhere, but learning how to use them, and everybody said, oh, young people, they must know how to use computers, and they must know how to program web pages. And so I was a young person, and I liked science, even though I was passionate about the arts, and so I would get asked to do things, and I'd always say yes. And then I'd run to the, back when they had bookstores, and I'd get a book, and I'd read it. And as I was trying to figure out what to do that might be, bring me some stability career-wise, tech was obviously an option. And then in the later 90s, 1997, 1998, when the internet first bubble started to take off, it was like, oh, wow, you could starve, or you could do something really fun that supposedly would make millions and millions of dollars. And so that became attractive to try.
Wow, interesting. So now, with the students that are in high school, what kind of information do you want to give to those students that maybe are looking into theater, dance, that kind of stuff, or into technology? Is there any information you want to give to those students that have something similar to what that you went through?
I think so you got, the arts, technology, then you got, lots of, go be a doctor, go be a lawyer, go be a professional, or an entrepreneur. And I would say that the most amazing thing that I see with my little bit of perspective is just, all of it's great, and the ability to see what fills you with joy and allows you to be useful to others. I think that's really the magic alchemy is, if you're feeling useful, and it makes you happy, you're doing the right thing. And there's some sadness if what you love to do doesn't seem to be serving people, right? That's a tough thing to work out. But if you can be open enough to find something that you like that does serve other people, I think it pretty much always works out. And at least that's what I've learned.
So it doesn't matter what field it is; it just matters if you're passionate enough to drive that field.
And listening to, the opportunities in the world, right? Like, if you really want to be a carpenter and nobody's building anything, you gotta, you're going to be lonely and maybe not compensated. And sometimes you got to do that. Like if it's that strong, sometimes you got to do it. And who knows what drives you, and amazing things happen when you listen. So I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
But when you're making, it's not compromises, but adjusting to the world, it's nice to notice where your passion does overlap with someone who's interested, or with people, or a place where you feel appreciated. I think it's maybe second in importance is being appreciated for whatever it is that you're doing, and trying to listen to that a little bit.
So what do you tell some of those students that you might meet along the way, from high school to college? What do you tell some of those students? What are they going to be looking at?
I think the biggest thing I would say is relax. It's, now college is all built up, and there's so much opportunity, and for like entrepreneurial, if you wanted to be an entrepreneur, like a lot of the successful ones dropped out of college. So like any specific college isn't really as important as finding the place that you fit. So, again, there's sadness if you feel like you fit somewhere that you're not invited, right? And you got to acknowledge, okay, well, what do I need to do to get invited? And then either adjust or recognize that there's probably other things that you would be invited to. And all of us are invited somewhere. And it's such a huge world with so many opportunities that, I'd really say, focus primarily on what inspires you and where your passion is, but also listen. And it doesn't mean you have to follow what you hear, but you need to be aware of where you're being successful and useful.
Now, with college, you said that you started a theater company with some friends from college. Is that usually what tends to happen? Because you see it with Facebook. He started with some people from college. Bill Gates with Microsoft, he started with people from college. Is that what you usually find? Your friends, they usually start something?
I think it happens a lot, and it goes back, I would say, to my advice to relax, in that one of the main things that college gives, certainly an opportunity to learn specific things, but it's also a culture. And in choosing college, I would say that the most important thing is going to a place where you feel invited and that that's your fit, because other people that are like you will feel the same. And that's one of the reasons that those, even for people that drop out, they make lifelong friends in college, because it selects for a type of culture and types of interests. And if you go to MIT, or a technical school, or you go to a business school, you're going to get different types of characters there, and there's a good chance that you'll find lifelong partners in that way.
Interesting take on things. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the company that you started, SureTech. So what does the company do? How does it all work? And if you can explain it in simple terms to the parents.
I think it's a great example of what I've been sort of describing. I moved to Princeton. My wife grew up here, and our daughter was 1, and we lived in New York City, and my company at that time had some contracts with the media companies, like the Disney company, building software products. And I didn't want to keep going into New York because it was just so exciting to be able to be here, in a home and the kids were growing, and so we thought it would be easy to start an IT services company. And I think this has so many interesting lessons for people. So I had experience in software, which is a subtle distinction from IT, but it's a big difference the way we think about it. And I thought it would be really easy to apply the software discipline and processes that we had to IT, because especially at that time, there was so much that would break in business corporate networks. We're like, okay, we'll just figure out how to solve all that. Well, it turns out, and it took us like 3 years to really figure out that they're very different types of skills and everything else. And so what we thought would be kind of an easy thing ended up being a lot more challenging, but we were learning a lot. So I started it with my wife and 2 other partners, but we found we were very useful, right? So it wasn't exactly what we thought it was, but our customers were very happy with our ability to provide standard, reliable solutions and our dedication. And so we just kept growing with it and growing with it. And even as different as it was, now we have a company that has some really innovative ways of doing things, that has succeeded in, putting these 2 ways of thinking together and develop innovative solutions. But it's always driven by what is it that customers ultimately want and appreciate, rather than some idea that we had, which it wasn't that idea, and we had to adjust to fit kind of the realities of what was going on. And I would say that process, as I've grown, it feels really great. It's not always the sunflowers and daisies that you think it will be, but it's still a learning experience. And the most important thing I've learned in my life is that being of service to others and listening to what is of service, which might not be what you thought, ends up always being the most fulfilling thing in the long run.
Now, you said software as well as IT. Is that what is a combination of both at SureTech?
Well, it turns out my background and interests are more in software, and I get most excited when I'm building things that are software, where you're figuring out how to take a process, a human process, and make it a code base. Dealing with help desk people is a lot about dealing with emotions and people that can't figure out where the plug is and why this doesn't connect. It's a different kind of business. SureTech is not actually a software business in its customer delivery, but it is a software business in what we build on the back end to support the things that we support. And I really actually enjoy that business the most, that part, the back end part. And so we've built up a really great help desk and solutions for that. But that's not necessarily what I thought I was going to be great at in the beginning.
Now, that brings up another point with today's day and age. A lot of students that are out there, they are now doing these coding classes, these camps, coding camps. They're saying. What do you tell families about those kind of things?
Great question. I think the most important thing around coding, well, one, it's a useful skill. And it's a language, so it's just like learning French or Swahili or something, but it applies to computers, and boy, there's going to be a lot of work in computing for a long time. Wow, there's something really important that I want to articulate well around that too, because I hire coding people all the time, and one of the things is that, I guess it applies to what I was going to say, you really need to think a lot about a team that you're with and what you're trying to build as a team, because just coding is becoming more and more of a vocational thing. You know, like you can. The market's so competitive because you can hire a coder in Bulgaria, you know, or Poland, or India, or South America, more and more. So the actual act of writing something is not, you know, or knowing the language, just like if you knew French, isn't nearly as important as who you're with and what you're doing as a group, right? And so, you know, particularly this is about college, like finding people that you like working with, you know, at college, or then looking for a job. I would say the most important thing when you're looking for a job with these skills, because they're valuable skills, is paying attention to where you're going to go, and if, I guess it's the same as the college, is the culture a fit? Mm-hmm. Because if you think of any of these things in this day and age, with change being so fast, and globalization where you can get talent all over the world, but you can't get a team. It's much harder to get a team that's doing something, and making sure that you're with people that are inspiring you, and that team is doing something that is of value to others.
Yeah. Now, teamwork is really important at business, and because of the globalization of everyone everywhere, do companies tend to just start hiring these people from in other countries and let them do whatever they're doing, or is there some kind of tracking that they do? How do they keep everybody together as a team if there's so many different places?
Well, I think it goes back to the same thing I was saying about college, which is culture, right? So just doing things doesn't achieve results in the long run. Like you can say, hey, you know, build me a shoebox. As a company, if you have somebody who says, build me a shoebox, build me a tree house, build me a birdhouse, that's not ultimately what builds value in a company. What builds value in a company is an organized group of people continually building on something that continually improves, where all the pieces of the company are moving something much bigger than any one person forward. And so what I see, you know, with globalization and all that stuff is building that culture and teaching values. So because I'm the head of my company, I've discovered that my job is to be at the service of the wider company, trying to teach what the company's trying to do and what the values and the culture are, and trying to promote that across all the groups, whether they're overseas or here.
And how do you keep them all connected, though?
With tools, with technology. So Slack is taken over the corporate world in the last year. Email is largely dead, and everybody watching this show will tell you they never look at email, which is good, you know. And it's neat to see younger, you know, a younger generation being more skilled at these things than older, you know, and older ways of doing things. And then, you know, in my world, I see lots of big companies doing things totally backwards, you know, because they haven't gotten the memo. Yeah. But it's technology. There's so many ways to communicate: video, voice, text, and using the right tools and channels to keep people connected. But again, underlying it all, you have to have the passion and the love for each other and what you're doing, and the sense that you're doing something together.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you find with a lot of these big companies that are out there, they're so far back in the times that you're trying to catch them up with everybody else?
Well, you know, that's the amazing thing about a company, is once you figure out something that makes money, you know, there's a tendency to just keep doing it, and as long as they're making money, they'll be fine. But there will always be younger companies trying to do it better and cheaper, or not even just cheaper, but just doing it better and more adapted. And so that's the rule of the universe now, is change. And that's where the opportunities come up.
So do you find that there are any businesses out there that have a group of people in the same place?
Well, the idea of everybody going to work in an office, like the same place like that, I haven't seen for a while now. So I think that might be well dead. Yeah. I don't know, it might not be, but certainly where I go, I don't see that happening too much.
Yeah, so there's just a selected amount of people in different places.
Yeah, I think I heard IBM like 5 years ago. Again, I'm not up on this, but I think they had like 20% as much office space as they had employees. So, you know, all their employees could never sit, more than 1 in 5 of them, at a desk at any one day.
Interesting. Very interesting. So now back to high school or college. So if someone's there that wants to be an entrepreneur, what type of schools should they be looking for? Is it the Yales and the Harvards of the world, or is it, you know, just any school?
I mean, entrepreneurialism is trying to connect an idea with a need, right? And then learning to build that idea. And it's the art of noticing what's possible and figuring out what's in the way of that becoming a reality. And no, Yale, for example, for me, for sure, I can say I really liked reading philosophy and literature, and I liked doing math and physics, and I liked academics. I had a very good friend who went to the UC San Diego, and I remember going out there to visit and just being amazed like at how much fun they had, you know, and like how much more bright and friendly and happy, and they like went out in the afternoon to play tennis. I was like, why? Wow. Yale didn't have that same culture. Like it was a lot more gritty and serious. And obviously I loved it and my friends, but it was by no means the right place for any specific thing. My sister went to Swarthmore and just loved it, you know, and I was just there this weekend, beautiful place, and it was just a great cultural fit for her, but I would have not felt comfortable there. You know, I think, again, it's finding the place that inspires you. And so if you want to be an entrepreneur, I would say the most important thing is to go to the place where you feel comfortable and inspired by the people around you. And you can be an entrepreneur, has nothing to do with college, especially now, like with online learning and everything like that. Like, it's not about the learning, it's about the life experience and what you can learn from the other people you're with. So go find the people that you're inspired by.
So
wherever they are.
Would you say that a lot of these parents should have their kids visit the schools and certain things that they should be looking for at the schools when they visit?
Yeah, I think all colleges also have a brand and a way that they project themselves. So that's important too, because again, not everyone will visit, but they're attracted by whatever the image is, and the people. So I would say it's what is the school talking about? How do they portray their message? And who do you know that's there, both faculty and other students?
Interesting. And being a person from California, to come to the East Coast, was it just because you heard that Yale was the best school, so I was just going to Yale, and that was it? Or was there any other factors that came into about? Because there are plenty of very good schools in California.
Well, I thought a little distance would be good to see something else, you know, and to try to see another part of the world. And I really liked academics. I mean, I wanted to study, and because I went to Performing Arts High School, I said, you know, I really want to get, you know, some more traditional academics in addition. And they had a very strong theater and artistic, you know, emphasis, even though it wasn't the drama school. But there's so much vibrancy there, and everything they communicated really involved diversity. Mm-hmm. You know, and I was attracted to, you know, both diversity in academics and arts, and a diverse student body. And so that really spoke to me. And then everyone that I met from there felt like the way they spoke was attractive to me. And so I wanted to, you know, so it seemed like a great fit. And of course, it's obviously a good school. So I said, well, I'm probably not going to go wrong with respect to that. But only later did I realize like how unimportant I think that status bit is ultimately. Like, you know, I have plenty of friends who, you know, have had tough lives having gone there, or, you know, and people have gone other places that maybe aren't, you know, that have great lives and very successful, you know. So, you know, I found ultimately that was much less important than I thought.
Did you see a lot of high school friends that stayed in California compared to going outside of the state?
Yeah, I think most, well, it's paradise, you know, like I always thought I would go back. Yeah, I think most people are smart and stay out there.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming they went to very good schools out there. Do you still keep in touch with those type of people as well?
Oh, of course, yeah. Oh, Facebook is obviously a great, you know, connector now. And so, yeah, I have lots of high school friends that are, yeah, and it's great to keep up and see how everybody pursues their life and their dreams.
Yeah, fantastic. So we're coming to the end of our show. Usually I ask my guests, what advice do they want to give to the families that their sons and daughters are, you know, want to become an entrepreneur, don't know what particular college they want to go to. What advice do you want to give to those parents that are out there?
Wow, so that's two. So you said an entrepreneur and then college. Which one should I do first? I might use up my time with one of them.
You can do both.
Wow. Well, I'll do college because that might be a little bit shorter. You know, I don't think parents will probably listen to relax, because parents like really worry about their kids, but you know, I think the kids should definitely relax, because I think things work out. And for parents, plus parents, we have to pay for it, so that's a little bit stressful. But you know, I would share what I've said this whole talk, I think, you know, or just being here, which is, you know, I think there's so many ways to pursue life and being useful and valuable in society, and the ways that we think will work and be successful now might not be tomorrow, you know. And so I think being open to what young people want and their own, you know, they're learning so much about how to communicate, you know, how to exist in the world, and I think letting them do that. And you know, to me, I think it's important to teach kids that they should just at least be aware of where the market is, you know, or what opportunities are that are useful, you know, to apply passion. And that goes to entrepreneurship. I think that, you know, there's a lot of buzz now around startups and you know, incubators and everybody. And I think if someone's passionate about that, you can do almost anything these days with tools. But my humble experience is that you should never do it to get rich. You know, the vast majority of things that get started won't succeed. And I mean like 90, you know, you should guarantee that it won't succeed. It's very, very rare that it does. But God bless you. If you think you've got to do it, you know. Just like I did theater for 5 years. I don't regret it for a minute. But I did have to notice that for me, that wasn't the way that I was going to support a family, right? And that's just, you know, something I had to notice. If I'd been paid a ton of money to keep doing it, I'm sure I would have done it. And the same with entrepreneurship. If you hit something, go. You know, I found somebody the other day, they were telling me a kid was buying and selling Instagram profiles, like, you know, doing the SEO and building a network and then selling and buying it for $300, selling it for $500. If you find something that is making money and you have a head for that, I would say go do it and support kids in doing that. But my experience is definitely that starting a business is only worth it if you really see that payoff happening and you are trying to build something for a culture and you're trying to serve a group of people to do something, not definitely to get rich or to not work for somebody. I would strongly encourage everybody to, again, find a group of people in a company or somewhere that you feel inspired by and that you feel empowered by, and that values what your talents or what your kids' talents are. And encourage them to find those places. And I think as a parent, one of the things that I really try to do with my kids is try to make that connection for them and see what they're great at. And then with all the contacts and experience I have, find where that greatness is appreciated and try to connect that. And try to get out of the way other than that and let them make their choices.
Great. Well, thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah. Thank you very much for having me. Really appreciate it.
No problem. So you've been watching The Secrets of College Planning. I'm your host, Anthony Uva. Until next time.